This is the Rowley Board of Selectmen meeting for February 4th, 2019. This meeting is being video recorded and televised live on Rowley Community Media. Would you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, the first order of business is a joint meeting with the Board of Light Commissioners for the purpose of meeting with Mark Cousins and Brian Dispersia to discuss the vacant seat on the Board of Light Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, at this point, I'll move over. Somebody have a light, John.
Two residents, Mark Cousins and Brian Dispersia, have expressed an interest in being appointed to a vacant seat on the Board of Light Commissioners. Each one of them has submitted letters and resumes. A copy of the vacancy notice is included in our file. Because this is an opening of an elected board, the statute requires both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Light Commissioners to meet jointly to make this appointment. The appointment runs until the annual town election, which will be held on May 14th, 2019. Procedure for the joint meeting is as follows. I'll first call for a motion and a second from the Board of Selectmen to open the joint meeting with the Board of Light Commissioners by a roll call vote. Someone make a motion?
I'll give you the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
The motion to open the joint meeting has been made and seconded. Roll call vote.
Aye, Dave Peterson.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Curry.
Okay, I'm Kevin Snow. I'm going to call for a motion and a second from a member of the Light Commissioners Boards to open the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen.
Mr. Chairman, give you a motion to open the joint meeting.
I second that. And can we get a roll call vote on that motion? Aye.
Aye, Robert Snow.
Aye, Kevin Snow.
Okay, the joint meeting is now in session. Mr. Dispersia and Mr. Cousins, I want to thank both of you for applying. It's good to have two qualified applicants for one position. Mark, I'll start with you first. You've submitted a letter. You can either read that letter or discuss your qualifications.
Sure.
Why you feel you're qualified for this position.
Sure.
And
So,
why you're interested in the position.
Yep. So why I'm interested, briefly, just I've lived in town my entire life, and I've been living here. I think the department is run very, very well, and thought Dan was going to be. I wanted to thank Dan actually for his service for the last number of years. He's run the department well. And one of the things that taken off the town's department's webpage, reliability and reasonable rates, and that's what I see as the future of the department. So that's the why, and my qualifications. Again, I've been in public power for the last 13, 14, 15 years. My history with utilities industry goes back to the 1990s. Started out of college, I doing financial audits of Eversource, which was at the time was Boston Edison, New England Electric Service, and some of the larger utilities. From there, I went to a regional accounting firm. I am a certified public accountant as well, and I did nonprofit and governmental accounting there. And then I went over to the town of Ipswich, where I was worked for the light department for over 9 years. Currently in Wakefield for the last 4, going on 5 years. So I have, again, decent number of years, 20 in the utilities industry. During that time, as far as some of the projects that I'd like to hand on, from a number of things. We've built substations, erected a couple of wind turbines in Ipswich at the time. In Wakefield recently, we brought battery storage to fruition in town, and we're doing some peak management right now, and a lot of interesting things are happening in the industry right now. And one of the things that is interesting that we're kind of looking at is having we also have a couple of large solar installations as well in town. And one of the things that we're looking at right now is having solar in combination with battery storage and see how that all is going to play out. So, like I said, there are a number of things happening in town, happening in the industry right now, and it's interesting to me, and I enjoy it. So, that's pretty much all I have.
Well, that's enough.
Unless there's any questions that either
Well,
of the boards
I have
has.
a general question first. If you got this position, you would have to learn about, or to the extent you don't know about it already, and comply with the various state laws such as the open meeting law, the state ethics law, and public records law. So are you willing to make that investment of time in order to?
Absolutely, and I have most of that in my belt already. I participate in the monthly commissioners meetings in Wakefield, as I did in Ipswich as well. So I mean, I'm familiar with the process. Maybe there are certain nuances between Rowley and other towns, but.
Right. Great. Any other questions from either board?
You familiar with Chapter 164, obviously, and how it pertains to MLPs?
Sure,
so on and so
sure. And what we try to do, both, what my experience has been is that, a collaborative approach between between the light department and the town always works best. I mean, I've heard over the years of instances where that happened, that may not happen. So out here, which is good. So. It's always more efficient.
Anything else? No.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on battery storage and your knowledge of it?
Sure.
I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, sure. So what we did recently is we brought in, footprint-wise, it's about the size of a tractor-trailer truck. Okay. The cabinet comes in, and there's individual cells. Okay, and there's an aisleway in the middle. So mechanically, that's what it looks like. The interconnection right into the substation yard, and the installation that we have it's 5 megawatt hour. It's 3 megawatt capacity, 5 megawatt hours. So it's 3 megawatt capacity, but it's discharged over 2 hours. You can get roughly 2.5 megawatts each hour, because you can't discharge it fully. Okay, so and the reason that helps is what it's done is it's shaved our peak, our transmission peak, and it's worth, right, again, I don't have numbers here, but the annual peak is worth about $120,000 a megawatt. So that's real money. Okay, in Wakefield it was 3.2 or 3.4 million. We got a state grant that covered about a third of it. So there was some free money. Maybe there'll be another round. Maybe there'll be another round of state financing. Who knows? But anyway, the net cost was somewhere in the mid-2s. So it's roughly, if you think about it, roughly $1 million a megawatt. But again, the technology is getting better and better. The costs are coming down. So it might be something that, again, depending on the footprint that we have available in the yard and the substation here in town, I don't know. But
When Wakefield started to do evaluation between battery storage, what else was the alternative?
There was a flywheel technology. There was a couple of other things, but that was the one that was really the leading edge. So there was no real competition on that. But so the evaluation was just again the payback period. Okay, so how we did it was about $121,000 for per megawatt for the annual peak, and the monthly peaks are worth about $25,000 a megawatt. So payback period was about, again, the payback period was over 10 years without the grant, and with the grant it brought it back to 7 or 8-ish.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we looked at it. We did some financial modeling, and
Did you kind of model it after the Sterling?
They were the first ones out of the gate. So I know Sean Hamilton, he's a great guy, but So so yes, the short answer is yes. And again, the model that we got was a little bit better, a little bit more capacity, and a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
So, and the one that Riley would get I would assume would be a little bit better and a little bit cheaper as the technology refines itself. So,
Good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. Brian, could you tell us why you think you're qualified for this position and why you're interested in it?
Sure.
Okay.
I've been in town a few years now, about 6 years, and I've been really interested in getting more involved with the town, and I enjoy living here. I've been to many of the Light Board meetings, in fact, all of them for the last year or so. I ran for Light Board last election last year, and I work in power generation. I've been in power generation for 15 years, my entire career out of college. I've worked in the private side of power gen, working for a major OEM of power generation equipment. It's something I take high interest in. The town of Raleigh here has great, reliable power, good cost-effective power. We do a lot of great things in the town. I'd like to be part of that. I think the Light Board is a very good department in the town in which can help to improve the lives of everyone in town. Everybody needs power. Everybody needs energy. It's a good way to help maintain a good living in the town. Like I said, I've been in power generation for a while, and I enjoy participating in different industry type events. I've been heavily involved with different trade groups and industry advancements in technologies, as far as solar, wind, battery storage, things of that nature, and trying to help municipalities help with electrification, as well as reduction in town emissions, things of that nature, to help maintain low-cost power, but also have a high reliable power, even with incoming solar that could be intermittent, but highly valuable as a power generation asset in our renewable portfolios that the state is working towards having in the region. So while municipalities don't need to abide by a lot of the state guidelines and restrictions or regulations for different state initiatives, it is important that municipalities also take part to some extent with some of the state initiatives for greening of the power grid and things of that nature. So I have a high interest in the power industry, like I said, and I'd like to bring some of my experience that I have and help to make and contribute to the Light Board for maintaining and also advancing it into the future for what we see coming.
Great. Okay, so I'll ask you the same question I asked Mark. Would you be willing to learn about and comply with the open meeting law, state ethics law, and the public records law?
I would, yes.
Okay. Does the Board of Light Commissioners have a particular recommendation between the two candidates?
At this time, I really don't. I mean, my biggest concern right now is having a new general manager coming on and being able to support that general manager in the best way possible. Again, we have two fantastic candidates with, experience in generation, battery technologies, things that we're going to be needing to look at. If I had to make a decision right now, and this doesn't go against either candidate either way, but again, with my intent to be able to support this general manager right out of the gate, I would have to lean towards Mark, just having the municipal experience, knowing 164, being involved with various municipal utilities, working with light commissions in the past, so on and so forth. I mean, to me, that's pretty key. As a general manager myself, being able to rely on that support immediately is huge. And again, that's not to disparage anybody here. I've been able to work with Brian when Brian's come to our light board meetings as well, and he's been a great, wealth of knowledge too. We've been able to talk about battery storage and, green initiatives, so on and so forth. So.
We have two really good candidates here tonight.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, which is very good. And Brian has been to all elected board meetings going back probably, as I can remember, at least 9 months to a year, maybe longer. And I looked over Mark's credentials, and this is a tough call. And I have to lean a little bit towards Mark because of his background, okay, municipal plant, plus we were talking about battery storage. And then again, Brian has been, we've had a conversation, not just a meeting, when we have a meeting, electric board meeting. Brian has been right there, and he has been asking questions, and there's been this dual dialogue back and forth. And I think the townspeople have been more informed because of his, his input at the meetings. But this is a tough call. Very tough. But I mean, towards Mark.
Okay.
And we're really torn between
Right,
the two of them.
right. Yeah, both candidates are excellent. It seems to me, however, that Mark's experience and background is perhaps a little more relevant because of his municipal background. Doesn't mean you're not qualified for the job. You certainly are. Bernie.
Yeah, as a member of a public utility board, I'm not familiar with any of the technology associated with the power industry, but I do think one consideration is the diversity of the members of the commission. So on the water board, there's one, I think having one person on the board who has a deep background in the industry is very valuable. Having people with diverse backgrounds is also valuable. So I think that's and again, I'm not making a call. You guys have the tough decision here. But I do think diversity of the board members is an important consideration.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just got a question for the board members. I know this is Mr. Snow is a light manager, and Mr. Cousins has obviously worked for a number of years with Ipswich and Wakefield, and I'm just wondering if we've got too many chiefs to reflect on the new manager coming in. In other words, I'm sure you have your way of doing things and your ideas, and Mark has done his. Both candidates are qualified. This is our, sometimes we get people in here that is one or two aren't qualified and they just want to do the job. The other thing is, so I'm just a little, you don't have to respond or anything, but it's just something that in the back of my mind, I hate to, kind of hate to see too many people with too much knowledge trying to tell the new manager how they would do it if they were doing it, not letting the manager have enough space to run his own program. My second point, and I think it sways me towards Mr. DePersia, the man ran for the position a year ago, lost, and yet he's stuck with it for the last year, going to meetings. I've only watched a couple of meetings on television. I haven't been to any of the light board meetings, and I've seen the spirited discussions go back and forth. So it's really a tough decision, but I think there's a man who a long time ago decided he wanted to be a member of the light board, and lost the election, which many of us have that have run for office in the past, and he's come back and been very spirited in involvement in trying to do the right thing. So which way to go, I don't know, but it's tough, that's for sure.
I would add to that. I mean, Cliff, we can go back 12, 14 years ago. And I was appointed to the planning board as the alternate. And then I ran for the office, and I lost. But I came back, and I ran again. And I do understand Brian's,
No, sure.
his heart
Yeah.
is, being there, and being on the board. And he's shown enthusiasm. And it's a tough call. And I have to say.
Nevertheless, it's a call we have to make.
I know, I understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm Terry Davidson. Yeah, and I came here partially tonight to support Brian because I think he's a fine, upstanding young man who's really committed to this community and wants to make a difference. And I concur even with Bernie. We don't always agree, but I concur with him. I think
First time.
Yeah, I think it's important to to have not just all municipal managers on the board. I think you have to have other perspectives because they'll be looking at an issue from a different angle than someone who is doing this every day professionally. So, but I know Brian has the professional expertise. I don't understand what he's talking about, but I know he does have that expertise and he'll be able to converse with knowledgeably about any issues. So, but I know he's very committed to this community, and I'm very impressed with him. So,
Phil Town. I'm here to support Brian DePersia as well. He's always telling me he's going to a light board meeting and tries to get me to go sometimes. And he wants a lot of green things happening in this town. I suppose I do too. I don't know much about Mark. It sounds like he has a wealth of experience as well. But Brian has been here every week, every time you guys have a meeting, for quite a while now. And that kind of dedication and time spent, I think is worth something. And you want to cultivate having new blood in local government, and the people that show their willingness to show up week in and week out should be given some extra consideration.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion one way or
We're
the
gonna
other?
close the hearing, right?
Oh, yes, I guess so. All right. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, this is not a public hearing,
Yeah, I know.
so you need to stay in your joint cell.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the only question that I have is that, is the light board going to make a vote to make a recommendation, or you're not going to?
I think we have to make a recommendation.
Okay.
Normally, just for the case, we usually take the recommendation from the board involved. This makes it simpler because it's, you're the two guys that need to work with the third commissioner. And the two well-qualified people. It's obviously a difficult choice, but I think if you guys make a recommendation, I'll go along with your recommendation.
Well, just to correct Dave, you made a statement that I was a light manager, but I'm not.
No, I don't mean you. I mean, we got
Okay.
him, and he's worked in the light departments he has, so that was 2 out of the 3 on the board would be light manager type people.
Sure.
Related to the new manager coming in. That was my only. It wasn't
My
meant.
knowledge
It wasn't
is
meant for
I know
you.
the big end goes in the.
Yeah, no, it wasn't meant for you. Easy to get the snows mixed up.
Well, the recommendation or the motion does not have to come from the Board of Light Commissioners, right?
It's been the policy
Yeah.
for the selectmen to defer.
Right, but,
And this, just a reminder, this is for the May election, so whoever, people would need to consider taking out papers at this point. I'm not sure if that question's been asked this evening, Mr. Chairman, if whoever is appointed, would they be willing to run for the seat, which is expiring in a matter of a couple of months?
I assume both of you
Absolutely.
would be willing to run, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to stick with my original recommendation. That's myself, with Mr. Cousins. I don't know how Bob feels on this.
Well,
So that's a motion to recommend.
I make a
Mark.
motion to recommend. Mark Cousin.
I'm leaning towards Brian, and one of the reasons is because he's been to all the meetings. And he's, we've had spirited discussions at the meetings, and there's been dialogue back and forth. And we try to get the general public engaged, and something we try to do here at this table. And I've tried over at the light board, so.
Right. Okay, so that means the
The
Board of Light Commissioners motion is not passed. And so since the Board of Light Commissioners is stalemated for all practical purposes, it seems to me it would go to the Selectmen to make a motion.
Well, we got a motion on the table, it needs to be seconded if,
Well,
No,
point of order.
Their
Can we
their
second?
board is-
Can the
That would be
Selectmen
between
second?
our
No.
board.
Yeah,
that's only for their
So
board.
I think we're stalemated here.
Right.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to appoint Brian.
all right, I'll second it.
Okay, the motion to appoint Brian has been made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed?
Oh, we have to roll call.
Oh,
I, Dave Peterson.
aye, Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Motion passes. Mark, I want to really thank
Sure.
you for, and I hope this
No.
will not discourage you.
No, not at all, not at all.
I hope at the
Thank you.
first opening of the board, you will take out your papers.
Sure, thanks, thanks.
Take care, thank
Have a
you.
good night, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, you can move aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, you still got the name on there.
You got
so
your
we're
name
not-
right
so we take the name off.
It's under the chair there.
Okay, I hope
Make a
that-
motion to close
Oh,
the joint
yeah,
meeting.
we're still on this. right.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call. Motion's been made and seconded.
I, Dave Peterson.
By Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Perry.
The motion passes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm going to make a motion to close the joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen by roll call vote.
I, Rob Snow.
I, Kevin Snow.
Okay, the joint meeting is now closed. The individual appointed by the joint meeting, Brian, you'll need to be sworn in by the town clerk. Amy will prepare the official action notice documenting the vote. That notice needs to be submitted to the town clerk. Thanks again, appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck.
I hope,
Being here next Wednesday night, don't forget that.
I'll be there.
I hope our next item is easier than that. Okay, we'll have a period of public comment from now until 7:40. Our next item on the agenda is just,
I think the young lady in the back wants to.
oh, okay.
I don't, should I just?
Just state your name and address, please.
My name is Jill Shuvaline, I'm at 6 Homestead Lane. I just had something I wanted to just say is, in June 2003, Raleigh had a final report of the Raleigh Master Plan. The Raleigh Implementation Plan is a 5-year plan. It was addressing from 2004 through 2008. We are in desperate need for planning for long-term. We do not have an economic developer for our town. We are creating zoning, but there is no clear direction that this land is developed for. As a result, our town planning board receives a lot of proposals. However, we now are being propositioned with retail and medical marijuana dispensaries and manufacturing. It seems we are now heading toward 5 locations in Raleigh. Can we please create a new master plan which includes an economic developer to proactively pursue companies that are not only focused on the marijuana industry, because at this rate, by doing nothing, we are in the passenger seat to determine the industrial landscape of our community.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Did everybody sign in, by the way?
I have the sign in.
This week, have the official attendance.
I gotta return to my other night job.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, I came here tonight. 'cause
Name for the record,
Oh,
please.
yeah, my name is Terry Davidson, I live on Glen Street.
Kevin.
Now, I know Raleigh has
Take care.
10 or 11 positions that are gonna be up for election in May. And I've have gotten asked about these positions. I'm chair of the Democratic Town Committee, and a couple of people have asked me about some of the positions. You know, what are the requirements for these positions, or their stipends, just general questions that people don't seem to know the answers or know where to find the answers. And I've looked on the town website, and there's some information about these positions and how many times a month you'd have to meet. But I think there's a desire on people's part to want to be part of the town boards and committees, but they're just not sure what to do and how to go about it. I know there was an article in the Newburyport Daily News, but I was just wondering if we could, as a community, do more outreach to get people information about these positions, and to see if we can get some new people who would decide to run for these positions. Maybe something like a job fair, but you know, organize something at the library. I mean, I think you'd have to do a couple of things. I do marketing for a living, and I know you have to repeat information over and over again, and you have to repeat it in different venues, because some people, you know, like to go to a meeting, other people don't. They want to get the information on the website, or maybe on a Facebook page like Rowley Talks. So I just wanted to bring up these, you know, a suggestion, you know, to do more publicity about the open positions, so that we do have a robust election in May, where we have a couple of candidates for each position. And, you know, maybe I'm being overly ambitious about it, but, you know, just to have some new blood, some new energy. I know people want to do things, but I'm just, you know, I think people are hesitant, and, you know, unless they know a little bit more about, you know, what would be required of them. So it's a suggestion. I'm happy to help with, you know, marketing on a volunteer basis, how to do that.
Great, okay, thank you very much.
Can I add to that a little bit?
Yes, you can.
Hilltown, 22 Bennett Hill Road. Perhaps, what does it take to be a selectman? Some kind of, maybe at the library, as you said, you know, or some selectmen come in and tell us about the nuts and bolts. I mean, what you do when you go into executive session. You know, really kind of get into, you know, the job you guys do, and maybe you might start to find some people to. I mean, I know that, you know, there's going to be some turnover in coming years, and you know, trying to figure out, you know, who the best candidates are going to be by engaging the community, and I think that outreach really has to happen. You know, it's I think there's maybe a conception in a lot of people's mind that it's just the same people, and they don't really want you to be on the boards, and you get that kind of stuff on Rowley Talks, and we need to get that out of people's head. I think there has to be. I think tonight, with Brian getting added to a board and being kind of the new blood, sends a good signal.
Right.
I'd like to see a little bit more of that.
Right. I'm not supposed to comment on these remarks, but just briefly, I don't think anyone on this board or any other board in town wants to keep people out. In fact, we want new membership. We want new blood. And I think, you know, you've raised an interesting point about how best to encourage that. So I'll think about it anyway.
Mr. Chairman, just to add, I know we're not supposed to talk about this, but we're gonna.
We do anyway.
And it's, as you heard, how I got started as an alternate. You don't come to the big table all at once. It's a growing process. You just can't come here and sit. Okay, it's a lot to learn before you get here. So, you know, there's openings, and, you know, planning board, ZBA, like, as an alternative, to take, you know, if you want to learn about it, do it.
Go to meetings. I think Brian's a prime example.
Yeah.
Go to meetings, get familiar with what goes on, what decisions are made, how the boards vote. I mean, yeah, there's executive sessions, but that's a whole different legal situation that you don't really get involved in until you're on the board. So show an interest, attend the meetings, and that's what we all did.
I sat in that
Over the
audience
careers.
9 months before he got elected.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would encourage people to go to meetings, but I think, even just some general information, whether it's, like I said, like a equivalent of a job fair, or, just some new ways to reach people. Rowley Talks is a great way to, put information out there. I don't know what your restrictions are, for being able to participate in something like that, or to give information to someone who is on there, but I think a lot of eyeballs see the information probably more so than reading the daily news or the town comment, because Facebook is the major way that people get news of all sorts.
Terry, may I interrupt?
Yeah.
The biggest eye opener, sit in that audience, or sit in what the boards, all the boards in town, anybody you're interested in, or whoever's interested, sit in the audience, and you will take it in.
Right.
Call a board member and talk to
Yeah.
a board member.
And we have, under the open meeting law, that's why that door is open. That everybody is welcome to attend the meetings. All of the boards are either videotaped or transmitted live.
But it's not a bad idea to have an informational session at the library or something like that, where one of us could talk and answer questions that people may have.
Has anything like this ever been done before?
Not as far as I know.
So it might show that the board's willing, might be old dogs, but willing to use some new tricks.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us are afraid of anything like that. If
Oh,
anything,
no,
we've
absolutely not.
encouraged.
Right. We want participation.
Yeah.
I guess to just end this quickly without dragging it out is I've been on the board number probably 12, 13 years now, since 1990. And when we've had elections and candidates running against each other, there's been debates on the libraries, the different groups, and 2 people in the audience, and 5 candidates show up to talk about the topic. So there has never been a lot of interest in terms of running for office, or the public showing interest in coming to events and things like that. And you run an event to talk about, to find people to come to the office. Maybe with Raleigh Talks or something, you'll get some people coming. But my experience is, and I'm not trying to be negative, but it's people, unless you pull hen's teeth from the hen, people just don't come out for this. It's not an exciting job. It's common sense. Any of these jobs that are posted, it's common sense. That's all. There's no special expertise. Get involved, make your opinions known, and that's the way it is.
And understand it's time consuming.
Can be.
Yeah. The only qualification is you should have the desire to improve your community, and that's really the only qualification. It's nice to be an engineer or an accountant or a lawyer or any one of these, real estate person, any one of these things, depending on the various board. But the bottom line is, you got to have a desire to promote the welfare of the town. That's really what it comes down to. Okay, thanks for your comments, everyone. Moving to general business number 1, which is a request from the fire chief, James Broderick, to lift the hiring freeze for 2 firefighter positions. The Board of Selectmen needs to vote to lift the freeze for the 2 positions.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion to lift the freeze has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Just a quick comment, Mr. Chairman. These are the 2 firefighters that the money was appropriated for at the last town meeting, so we're not pulling these out of our hat. But, the town people did vote for these 2 positions, so.
Okay, new business number 1, which is discuss the annual town meeting and spring special town meeting schedule. So the proposed schedule is on Monday, February 5th, the Board of Selectmen will open the annual town meeting warrant.
We have to correct that.
Sorry?
Just open immediately, Monday, February
Mon-
4th.
Monday is February 4th.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Joe. On Monday, February 4th, we will open the annual town meeting. On Monday, March 4th, we will open, the annual town meeting warrant closes at 4 p.m. And the special town meeting warrant will open at the same time. On Thursday, March 28th, the special town meeting warrant will close at 4 p.m. On Monday, April 8th, we will vote to finalize the wording of ballot questions for the May 14th, 2019 annual election, and we will finalize that warrant on Monday, April 15th. On Wednesday, April 17th, the warrant is signed and given to the town clerk for posting by the constable. The warrant is then sent to the printer. On Monday, May 6th, the ATM and annual town meeting and special town meeting will, how does that end, Debbie? Oh, that's the date of the meeting, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay, the meetings will be held on May 6th. On May 14th, we will have the annual town election. So we need to vote tonight to open the annual town meeting warrant today and close it on March 4th at 4 p.m.
I'll give you the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, so the motion to open the annual town meeting warrant today and close it on March 4th at 4 p.m. has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. So now we need a motion to open the special town meeting warrant on March 4th and close it on March 28th at 4 p.m.
Give me that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, the ayes have it. Okay. Okay, the next item of business is to set the Board of Selectmen meeting schedule for February, March, April, and May. So the proposed schedule for the next 4 months is as follows. We have a meeting on February 4th, February 11th. On February 18th, we will not meet because that's President's Day. And then we'll have a meeting on February 25th. We'll meet on March 4th, March 11th, March 18th, and March 25. April 1st, April 8th. There'll be no meeting on April 15th because it's Patriots' Day. We will meet on April 22nd, April 29. Town meeting will be held on May 6, and the Board of Selectmen will meet on May 13, May 20, and there will be no meeting on May 27, which is Memorial Day. That schedule is fine with me, however, I will not be able to be here on April 1.
I have just one question,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. Debbie, on the Monday, April 15th, you say the warrant is finalized.
Well, the draft, but the FinCom will usually have a meeting after, and if I have to.
So we don't need to meet that, we're not meeting that night. The Board of Selectmen is not.
Oh, you know what, you're right, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was Patriots' Day, that's a state holiday, so it wasn't on my calendar. So we would probably have to figure out, I mean, those dates are pretty fluid, it just depends on the production that we have and the size of the document, but, well, I'll figure out another date and we'll that.
Okay.
Okay, so does anyone have any issues with that proposed schedule?
No.
No.
Okay. So the motion to approve the schedule, as I have read it, has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. Okay, next item of new business is a request from the Rowley Youth Baseball to use the town common for T-ball. We've got a request from Parks and Recreation Committee Vice Chairman Tim Southall, who's confirmed that T-ball will need to be held on the town common again this year until the new fields are complete. This is for the 2019 season.
I'll give you the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to approve Tim's request has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed, the ayes have it. Next order of business is the Triton FY20 budget update. Last Wednesday, the District Communications Committee meeting met in the Newbury municipal offices. No real news to report. They've just in presenting the next budget, the school officials pretty much reiterated their previous projections of basically $17.2 million in operating costs, and the assessments that were divided among the three towns were the same as what we had looked at before. The town of Salisbury did voice the position that it could not afford the proposed budget increase, which they have been assessed for, which is almost $1 million, 982,000, or 8.41% increase. They did not come back with a specific number, but they said that they would put their heads together and come back with a specific number as to what they could afford. And I suppose that'll take place this Wednesday at the next Triton Budget Committee meeting.
Can I just make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Certainly.
Way back when Triton was originally set up as a K through 12, originally it was just a middle and high school district, and each town had its own elementary. When we made that initial Triton agreement, we based student enrollments on a 5-year rolling average. And the idea of that at the time was to keep the numbers from jumping up 1 year, down the next, as we're seeing the last 2 or 3 years. So in other words, it just kind of doesn't change the numbers, it just kind of evens it out.
Right.
Now, the problem that developed with that at that time was there was a big issue about school choice. And people accused the Triton District of lying because the numbers that the Triton District was using didn't match what the state was using. However, our numbers were strictly for enrollment calculations within the district, not how the state aid is calculated. So I know, I get the impression that Newbury really doesn't want to get involved in that.
That's correct.
And they've, well, of course, right, the last 2 years, for 2 years, they had a drop in their assessment altogether, while Salisbury and Raleigh kicked all the money in, as well as they accounted for their drop. This year, and last year and this year, Newbury's is a relatively low, ours is in the middle like it usually is. But I just would hope that when the committees are looking at the enrollment process, that they could at least consider going back and looking at the rolling enrollment again. I know Joe might be interested in that too. It just keeps it just evens out the flow so that you're not jumping up one
Right.
year and down the next. And that's a kicker, because obviously Salisbury went up $300,000 this year, mostly probably because of enrollment. And it's,
Entirely.
you know, we got a lot of houses. You look around Raleigh, we got a lot of houses that probably won't affect us next year, but by the following year, we could well be jumping up in the number of Triton students, and that's when, you know, our assessments could well take a hit, so or be added to greatly. So it's just something that, as we're discussing this, I know Newbury isn't too interested in it, but over the years, everybody's had their turn in the barrel in terms of getting either hit hard or hit easy. And just as we move forward, I think it's important that the Triton agreement try to be fair to all 3 towns. And the enrollment is just something we have no control over. It'd be nice to see it average out a little bit so it's less of a hit,
Right.
either up or down, you know.
Right, well, actually, Triton has been looking into that. In fact, there's a committee that's tasked with that,
Right.
that task, and Joe was on the committee to come up with a better assessment method. Salisbury and this town have voiced support for that. Newbury has not shown any interest, and they've told us that they're not interested, and I know you know this, Dave.
Yeah.
But under the Triton agreement, you can't change the agreement unless you get
All 3 towns.
the approval of all 3 towns. So one town is holding out, and that's the town of Newbury.
Okay.
But it's definitely something that I think would be good for all towns, because eventually each town is going to be in this predicament at some point, and they're going to be wanting relief from sudden drastic changes in the assessment.
Well,
The talk that we've had on the committee that I've been participating on for a number of years is that we are interested in the 5-year rolling average.
Right.
this adversarial role that each town has, one town doesn't have a large assessment, so they kind of sit back and say, phew.
Yeah.
And then,
Don't worry
and
about
then
next
there's
year.
one town that gets an enormous assessment, and they're like, you know, especially, you know, Salisbury and Raleigh right now, we've, you know, added some municipal buildings. It's gonna affect our tax rate, and now the assessment comes in on top of that. It's gonna hurt.
And we did hear, because the Triton assessment of 1.7 million, and Salisbury's share is 982 as proposed. And we heard from the superintendent that even if they were to cut their budget, which would mean extreme cuts, that if they cut it $1 million, Salisbury's assessment would only decrease by $300,000.
Right.
So it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot.
Right.
Larry?
I had one point of correction that I think we stated earlier, that the budget increase for the level spending for this year is, like what Joe said, 1.72 million, not 17.2.
Oh,
That's,
okay. Sorry about that.
well,
It's a big difference. That's a big difference.
And, you know, people understand out there that when we, like we talk about the schools or the new public safety building, these are debt exclusion overrides, okay? There'll be 20 years, paying for these, and then they're paid off, or 30 years, whatever, or, we buy a fire engine, it's $500,000 over, what is it, 5 years?
5 years.
5 years, to pay it off. So, but when it comes to the assessment from the school, that doesn't go away. That's on the tax bill. That'll be on your tax bill from now on. So I think that's what everybody needs to understand.
Okay, moving on to old business number 2, which is a Pine Grove School project update. The first element of that is the letter that we received from Pink & Company. That's Pink & Company is our OPM, or owner's project manager for the Pine Grove School project. At our last meeting, the board voted to refer the request from Pink for an additional increase in payments under their contract for between $57,000 to $65,000 to our town council for his review. We've received back the town council's opinion, which is a very strongly, I think, pretty strongly worded opinion that the request made by Pink & Company is not consistent with the terms of their contract, and in fact, they're not legally entitled to bill us for additional funds for the work they're proposing to do. So rather than spend a lot of time talking about this tonight, I would like to refer this to Pink & Company for their response to our lawyer's letter. It seems to me that's the next step in the process, just to see what they have to say about it.
Just if I could comment, Mr. Chairman, that I did have a meeting with Andrea Lombardi, who was our original representative from Pink Incorporated, about this issue, and that she said that she would provide me with something in writing, which we have received. And I'm glad it went to town council for review. And I have talked to Larry Berger, who is our clerk of the works at the site, and I would like to hear their response based on what the Tom Mullen has written in the letter.
So I'm not sure I understand. Are you saying that they've already responded to
No,
Tom Mullen's letter?
all I'm
Okay.
saying is we talked about it.
Yeah.
Andrea said that she would provide in writing what we talked
Okay,
about.
good.
And so she did, and now we provided it to Tom, and he has
Okay.
provided a response.
So-
And I'd like to find out, hear what Pink has to.
Okay, so I suggest that we vote to send Tom Mullen's letter officially through to Pink & Company for their response, just so it's on the record.
I think I would like to make that motion.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, fire station and police station addition project update. Things continue to go smoothly on this project. Work is continuing in the dispatch center and fire station. The project is expected to be substantially complete by the last week in February. The landscaping will need to wait until the spring. Anything else, Dave, or-
Oh, there'd be a little bit of a delay for the police department to get into the new dispatch center because some of the furniture came through damaged.
Oh.
So it has to be, it was sent back and has to be resent, so, but basically it's on time and there's no major issues, so it's going well.
Great. Joe, I think I skipped over your update on the Pine Grove project. Do you have anything to add, or?
Not really. The Phase 3 will be complete this Friday. That would be the Upper South. I took a tour on Friday afternoon, right after our construction meeting, and it looks great. And the teachers, the school gets out at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and the teachers will be packing up in Lower South, the bottom floor, and moving. Some were moving upstairs, and some are moving out to the East Wing. North, east, south. Okay, East Wing, and some teachers will be moving 2 or 3 times, but everybody's cooperating, and the Upper South does look great. They did a fantastic job. I think all of the renovations are looking great.
Great, okay. Old business number 4 is to extend highway materials and services contracts for Bitcon, Brox Industries, PJ Albert, All States Asphalt, and Seal Coating. Highway Surveyor Patrick Snow is requesting that the contracts be extended for 8 of the 10 contracts for the roadway materials and services project. 2 of the contracts are not being extended because the services that fall under them are not needed this year, and those 2 contracts that are not being extended would be granite curb resetting and cement wheelchair ramps. Each of the 8 contracts that needs to be extended includes a provision that the town can extend it for 2 additional 1-year terms if it's found to be in the best interest of the town, and the contracts have already been extended 1 year, so this would be the 2nd year of extension. This board will need to vote to extend the following Highway Department road materials and services contracts through December 31, 2019. Item 1, Type 1, Type I, bituminous concrete in place. That's the Bitcon Corporation. Item 1A, Type 1, bituminous concrete berm curb. That's a Bitcon Corporation. Item 2, Type 1, bituminous concrete at plant, Brox Industries. Item 3, bituminous concrete disposal, Brox Industries. Item 4, bituminous excavation by Cole Planer, PJ Albert, Inc. Item 5, roadway reclamation, All States Asphalt. Item 6, fiber reinforced crack sealing, Inc. Item 7, adjustment rebuild, remodeling of structures by Bitcon Corporation.
I'll give you the motion, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Motion to extend the 8 contracts has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next item is old business number 5, which is to discuss the rebidding of the Town Hall Annex Replacement Project. We've got a proposal from the architectural firm CBI for the rebidding of the Town Hall Annex handicap ramp with wood rails rather than fabricated metal rails. The board will remember that in November, the low bidder on this project, A.J. Wood, withdrew their previous bid for the project because they said they hadn't factored in the price for the fabricated metal guardrails. And because the next low bidder was over budget at $103,000, we asked the architect to change the guardrails and the handrails specifications from metal to pressure-treated wood, which would significantly reduce the project cost. CBI is now requesting additional funds to cover the cost of rebidding the project in that manner. So we need to vote to authorize Debbie to proceed with the CBI proposal and to rebid the project. And I believe the rebidding project itself has a cost of $6,000.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is just a ongoing saga of overbidding. Obviously, the original intent was to handicap access the total building. The prices come in way too high. We have a chance of getting the Didax building, which would not necessitate us to use the 2nd floor at the annex. However, we need to replace that handicap ramp. It's in doesn't meet the code, it's in poor disrepair, and we need CBI to rework their drawings and handle the bidding for us. It's gonna cost us $6,000. We want to do this ASAP so that we can hopefully have the ramp bid and built before summer. It's a situation that needs to be resurrected, and we'll need that ramp no matter what we do with that building as far as, using it for either the officers if they stay there and/or the council on aging. So it's just something that, it's just one of those projects that just keeps going up and up, and as we know, construction costs are going up to 5-6% a year in every industry, and every contractor is busy right now, so it's making it even more difficult to get these to come in at low bids.
And it's
So-
especially tough for town governments.
So I make a motion to approve the $6,000 for CBI for the work to complete their aspect of the project.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Motion to accept the contract has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. So Debbie, you wish me to sign on second page?
I'll authorize you to.
Oh, okay, so I don't have to sign, good. Okay, minutes. We have 1 set of minutes. Bob, you were absent.
Yes. Give a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion to approve the minutes of January 28th, 2019 has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
Abstain.
Okay, which brings us to announcements. Nope. Oh, yes, announcements. Town has the following vacancies: Agricultural Commission Associate, Cultural Council, Fence Viewer, 3 positions. Wood, Lumber, and Bark Inspector, Zoning Board of Appeals Associates, 2 seats. And Deputy Shellfish Constable, 2 positions. For more information on these positions, please contact the Selectmen's office at 948-2372. The Rowley Food Pantry is in need of donations. Donations can be left at the Rowley Public Library. The food pantry is open on Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and on Thursdays from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Okay, finally on our agenda is an executive session motion. I'll call for a motion to go into executive session for the following purpose: to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Massachusetts Coalition of Police, MCOP, Local 360, pursuant to State Open Meeting Law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, and to not return to open session. So we will not be returning to open session.
I'll make that motion.
Any seconds?
Second.
Motion to go into executive session has been made and seconded. We need to vote by a roll call vote.
Aye, Dave Peterson.
Aye, Cliff Pierce.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Okay, we're in executive session. Thanks, everybody, for coming.